Hey there guys, ice9 again, and we're going to do another Madden Mobile video. Not going to be covering promos, we're going to do a little bit of gameplay. I've got one Hall of Fame drive to play. I'm going to talk about this game in general. You guys should have seen a survey pop up in the game that links to a website that you're able to fill out a survey. They say it takes 20 minutes, which is probably true. In the last section, the comments section, I basically wrote a book, which I know a lot of you guys probably don't find too surprising. Saying of my complaints and what the game has become this year, how it's gone. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. It's a number of things I've been talking about all year, and a lot of the changes that I think that have not been good for the game have really happened recently. So we're going to talk about that. In the last few months since the first of the year, is really when some changes have been implemented to the game that have really affected how fun this game is to play right now. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give a shout out to someone, Plasma Cop, who's been following my videos. Thanks, man. I do appreciate it. Thanks for following my videos, and to the other subscribers that I have. I really do appreciate it, guys. Also want to give a shout out to my league, Mobile Madness. We're still here grinding, playing Release the Bats, number 77. These guys are really good. I only put up 6 again. And Spread FL Drag, man, covered that. Then just got, countered 28%, on a 4th and 2. And, next drive here, just got a touchdown, managed to get a touchdown. Caught a bunch of low percentage softies, some of which are pretty good. You can see on that pitch play, anything but a critical. If you just run outside, the way the defense kind of collapses, it's actually a better play countered than it is uncountered up to a critical. And then on the last play, 4th and 7 to Edelman there. And Edelman's actually pretty good at a possession receiver. He's not by any means the best receiver in the game. Just doesn't have the height. But caught a critical on pitch on that one. And then got picked by Larry Wilson. He had that card. So 104 defense. Really good job. On the other hand, so 6 is a real bad day. Been having, a few of those here and there. Quite a few of those. And team playing me, running into my softies, still getting some things done, even under the soft counters, under a medium. And then he kicks a field goal. Another guy plays me. Playing Bears teams. And he just catches a medium and doesn't get enough of a completion on spread slot flags. Between this guy took a long time between his first drive and his last drive, so I put in hard counter unit against him. Caught him right away, trying to run strong eye twins, PA cross. Just don't want people to get comfortable. Looking to play the same defense, trips corner strike. Gets that, cross up, catches a sack, angle. He gets the cheese ball there to Gronk with no counter. Then he starts running typical plays again, including one that he had used before. So I just got it in there and finally fumbled at the goal line. So my defense held up, and I'm still +3 for the day. It's brutal, though. Said did a really good job. And so we've held up to him, but, it doesn't look like we're going to win it. But At any rate, though, all my guys in my league, just awesome individuals, great bunch of guys. Really hope we could do this next year. Really hope we do. Um, Raiders still got to play. Come on, Randy, play. He'll play at some point, I'm sure. But at any rate, though, these guys have been working really hard. I was really happy to see a couple guys get NTL today, including Gak, who doesn't spend much money in the game. He's just really good about doing sets and trying to get things done. So he was able to get a really good player, and that made me happy that, one of my guys who, just works really hard at the game and doesn't necessarily spend a lot of money was able to get NTL on their team. It's definitely a very, very cool thing. So, yeah, again, I was happy about that. Congratulations, Gak. And Bengal Bump, too. It's just really, really cool. That this Easter promo, it's had a lot to offer for everyone. People have been able to make a lot of coins off of it. I could have made coins off the event if I didn't try to go after the set so hard, but I'm just so big about getting upgrades for my team. That's why we make the coins anyways. But I could have been smarter and a little bit more patient about the way I did things and just sold cards instead of just trying to, do whatever I could to do the sets. But, I can hardly complain about the Easter promo, especially after getting really lucky with that Easter crystal egg pull, and then getting another one to add on to it. And I had to make a decision, on this by doing another Easter Crystal Legend, especially because the exchange set wasn't out when I decided that I wanted to have Wilson no matter what on the defense. He's shown up in film already. He's pretty good. He's got me a couple times too. A good player, real good player. And essentially what it is, the decision is you get a boss card on your team. You just can't upgrade it, or at least make coins off of it by selling the player in order to get some of the better players that might come out, like, Boss Sean Taylor, for example, or GT cards or anything of that nature. And that's a lot of what I'm going to talk about in this video. We got a couple Ultimate Legends. I saw briefly on Mudhead. John Randall is getting a card tomorrow. And we'll talk about that a little bit. But basically, we're going to talk about here is, I've been reflective and, really want to play next year. I really do. But even though the Easter promo has been so good and everybody's been able to get a really good cornerback and game plan with a reasonable amount of effort, there's still things with this game. We'll see what they do in the ways of promos after this and see what those are like. We've got the fan favorites, all the things that I've complained about and talked about, but yet another throwback card this week. I've been complaining and saying everywhere I can on Mudhead, probably to the point where people watching my videos or reading my posts probably get sick of me. But I'll tell you this, since I'm listed as a 103 now, okay, because I briefly, before I sold off CJ2K, I put him in the lineup, and that got me up to a 103 overall. All right, so that's what I'm playing in head-to-head now, because that's my best achieved overall. That's who I'm going to be playing. So once again, even though I'm really a 102 overall, I'm playing a bunch of really good teams, okay, that are out there. And we're going to talk a little bit about that and about how this game has changed. And we're going to talk about other games that I've played too at a fairly high level, okay? So let's start talking about that, actually. Okay, so gaming, I've been gaming a long time, I'm old enough to remember Atari 2600 over at the neighbor's house and played Doom Shareware, as I mentioned in another video in the early 90s. That was a single player game. Um, by the time I got a real gaming computer in 1998, I'd started playing Quake 2 and then Quake 3 right after it online competitively a lot. And I was pretty good player. I was probably in, I don't know, maybe the top 2 or top 5%, which means there was quite a few people who could beat me. And, there are people who could really beat my rear end. The really good Quake 2 and Quake 3 duelers. I've played some of them, and the difference in skill level was very different. But, that was online gaming is its own thing. Whenever it's competitive and whenever you join a league or a clan or anything like that, and you have a group of guys and you have that camaraderie, that makes everybody more loyal to the game because they're more loyal to each other. That's essentially how it works. And it's one of the things and one of the reasons that certain companies, EA included, like to focus on online games, because if you can get groups of people together like that, they're all kind of committed to each other in a way. Even though that sounds funny in a way, it really is the way it works. Leagues become groups of friends, online friends, people you get to know. You get to know everybody's little personality and in the way the different things that different people bring to the table, and you become a team. And that's really been the very fun thing about Madden Mobile for me. Like I've said many times, I doubt I'd still be playing this game if it weren't for League. It's just not worth all the effort to try to build a team. And, with all the money I've spent, things like that. And that's really what I'm going to talk about, in this video. Time or money, they're interchangeable. I can't spend the amount of time that other people can working the auction house. A, because I really don't have the desire. I don't like that part of the game that much. That's why I don't do too many coin making strategies or things like that. I could spend your money, I just can't make it for you, right? Um, and that's really what I'm good at, in terms of deciding what moves to make to put a good team together, etc. So I've made the trade-off of spending more money, and I spend a lot of time too. But I spend a lot of time on my league too, just trying to be active in chat and just trying to communicate with everybody, etc. So that is basically what I've done. And the reason I mentioned Quake 2 and 3 is because those were video games where essentially you spend $50 in a game, you install it on your computer. There are a lot of people who come out with mods or different ways to make the game better for playing online. Things like OSP, Orange Smoothie Productions back in the Quake 2, Quake 3 days. If anybody here watching this video remembers that, where it was a free mod where they could determine everything for you. They could run a tournament. They could tell you what your percentages were in terms of your aim in a game and etc. Just brought a lot in the way of gameplay, and it was totally free. These mods, they accepted donations, but the recognition they got as programmers in the hopes that they would be able to use that in the future, and because they loved the game, that's why they did it. But otherwise, you pay $50 for that game. In Quake 3, I paid $50 for that game, and essentially I got 3 or 4 years out of that game. Seems like a very different business model than now here with this game, for sure. Now, another game I played, and this is quite a bit more recently, we're going back about a decade now, 9 years. I played COD 4 fairly competitively in a clan. Clan was called HNC. They no longer exist. They were originally an Unreal Tournament clan that picked up COD4, and I was in their COD4 division. We played at a fairly high level. We weren't a top, going to LAN tournaments or anything like that type of thing, but we were pretty good clan. We could come on a server and, if we all joined the same team, for some reason, if we were all on the same team, we tried to auto join to not unbalance the whole thing. But, if we ended up a lot on the same team, we would usually destroy the server. Just everybody would start leaving because we would just own people. That's just how it worked. 48 player team deathmatch servers. That's usually what we played on the PC. They had 48 player capability on the servers. And, you could do a lot with that too. We had our own server for a time. We rented a server. We could run whatever maps that we wanted. If we caught anybody cheating where it was getting around the anti-cheat software, we could kick them right off the server because you could observe it just by looking under their point of view, and we could just kick them and ban them off the server. It was our server. It was really cool. It gave us a lot of freedom. Again, the game was $50, and again, a lot of the mods were free. Now, in terms of game balance, which is something that I'm really playing online games as long as I have, even though I haven't played a lot of sports games per se, I know a lot about game balance just as a player and when things are balanced and when they aren't. Now, in Quake 2 and Quake 3, in Quake 2, they came out with a new weapon called the railgun. And it was basically like an instant hit sniper rifle. And in a way, it was, depending on the situation, it was the most powerful weapon in the game. Of course, situationally, other weapons could be better, but it was really powerful because you could kill someone anywhere on the map with one shot. If you just killed them and they just spawned, so they didn't have any armor, you could kill them on the spawn pad if you predicted where they were going to spawn and just kill them instantly. And that was called spawn fragging. You could get a lot of kills. So the thing was, in that game, is you had to get the railgun and you had to keep your opponent away from the railgun. Or on some levels, you'd have to keep people away from armors, or you would time them every time that the item would respawn, and you pick them up and you would try to deprive your opponent from getting those items, by killing them when they tried to get them or picking them up before they did, and constantly being there to get it and having more weapons, armor, and health than your opponent, and basically not trying to not give your opponent a chance to get back in the game, to get powered up. A lot of strategy to it. With COD4, it was a bit more random. You could unlock perks that would make your weapons more powerful, or shoot through walls, or make you so they couldn't hear your footsteps, or find you on the map as easily. They had like a radar thing on COD4, the UAV, and you had different perks that you unlocked. You unlocked all those perks by playing the game, though. You didn't have to pay additional money for that. Okay, and another game I played, I actually played Tiger Woods 2008, as I mentioned, and that was a true PC game. There was no paying for any extras or downloadable content of any kind. I only wanted to play single player in Tiger Woods. I never wanted to play online and play with people who were so good at swinging a golf club using a mouse. That didn't appeal to me. I just wanted to play the career mode, win a lot of events and masters and stuff like that. And that was really fun for me to see how well I could do. But just playing against the video game, though. But there was no DLC, or, you paid for the game, again, $50, and then that was it. Now, Tiger Woods 2012, when that came out for the PC, that was a different thing entirely. When I got that game, I bought it and I was all excited without even really reading reviews of the game because I assumed I would have a career mode, and that I would be able to do whatever I wanted and do a lot of the same types of things that I did in 2008. That was not the case. EA had changed it. They had not been focusing on PC games at all for quite some time for sports. So that was one thing. So the game wasn't as deep or well integrated as 2008. It didn't have as much of a career mode. But when I bought the game, I realized, oh, I could buy all the clubs that I used to have to earn by playing the game. Of course, I want to have the clubs. I'll spend a little bit more money to get that stuff. So I spent money on the game before I even played it, in addition to buying the game. Got clubs and stuff like that, be able to hit the ball a little bit farther, get better golf balls, etc. Then I realized I could only use those items in multiplayer. I couldn't use them in the career mode, and that the career mode was nowhere near as good as the career mode in 2008. That's because EA had changed the focus of the game towards online, which I didn't even want to play. I just want to play golf and have fun and relax and pick it up and put it down whenever I wanted to. Totally different type of thing. When you're playing an online game, it tends to take more time per day, especially if you play in a league or you play competitively or anything like that. It's kind of like a job, really, in a way. But once I found that, and I'd already spent another $20 or whatever it was, 20 or $40 in addition to the 50 that I shelled out in the game, I never really ended up playing the game at all because it was all about online, and I didn't want to play that game online. I just wanted to play it for fun. But the reason, looking back, that EA wouldn't let you use it in single player mode is because they wanted you to play online, because those items that you had bought, that you were all happy about, that you had right at the beginning of the game that you hadn't worked for at all, essentially they would be rendered obsolete by other items that are going to come out in the game, and they want you to spend more money on other transactions after the purchase of the game. Okay, so moving on, and we know EA's business model, they try to make as much money as possible. And there was a post on Mudhead today talking about EA's revenues with Madden Mobile and their mobile games in general for the year. Madden Mobile has been their number one moneymaker for years, but revenues in general for EA first quarter this year versus first quarter last year are down 42%. It's a huge amount. That means that people are going to be losing their jobs. That means that we expect them to make adjustments so they could try to make more money in the game. And it's really, really difficult, I think, for EA, because it's one of those things that you're either growing or you're shrinking as a company. There doesn't seem to be any in between. You're either making more and more money or you're a disappointment. And they've made a lot of money on this game. And I'll tell you what, EA has made a lot of money off of me. And thousands of dollars off of me over 3 years, thousands and thousands of dollars. And the only thing I could say is, it's my choice, it's my prerogative. If I want to, I could grind the auction house more. If I wanted to, I could do any number of things. What I find myself increasingly having a hard time with, though, with EA in this year, and we're going to talk about it, and the reason why I talked about all these other games and how different these games were, is because that is exactly what is turning me off about this game right now, and to the extent that is becoming continued pay to play. is really my biggest issue with it. And if you're a big Madden Mobile fan and if you don't like all my complaints, that's fine. You don't have to watch my video. That is perfectly fine by me. This is my opinion. The reason why I express it is because I have loved this game and I would love to see it, EA change the way that they're doing things. And there's a number of things that they could do, and we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to talk personally about what I think has been wrong. And it's many things that I've talked about before, and why so many people are leaving this game right now. Because it's a slow time of the year and we expect people to drop off. But a couple leagues we have played fairly recently, within the last month, month and a half. This is KMFO. This is last year's season champion. Okay. And, with these guys, somewhat controversial, I would say, last year, how they won league season championship. And that's all I'll say. And you can see, they got their champ badges from last year, but they're selling their league. And they're down to 12 members. When we played them, they were in the 20s, probably the mid-20s. When we played them, I believe it was a month and a half ago. I think that was before the gameplay update from March. Okay, but this is a top league, and looks like they're hanging it up. They're going to sell it. Whether they were cheating or not, they had a lot of pride. They were a good league. When we played them, they were extremely tough. Great league. And they're hanging it up. They're looking to sell their league, basically. A lot of other leagues up here, not many members. Sometimes it's because you want to keep a high ranking and keep winning, and it's hard to have reliable members, especially since the gameplay update, which has made it very difficult, much more difficult to score. As I've mentioned, I really truly think a lot of times it's more difficult to score for myself right now. It seems like it's more difficult in a lot of ways than in Hall of Fame head-to-head. I mean, that's how different it is. Now, our last 5 league-to-leagues, we've had 4 top 100 matchups now. We've had a rough time of it. We've been getting some real bad luck in terms of who we're drawing, but we have gotten better as a league and we are scoring better. But at any rate, it's really tough with some of these leagues out here. Playing these guys here, highly skilled. A lot of these leagues, DEA leagues up here. But we also do see, here's Heroic Destiny. And now they're Heroic Spam. I'm not sure what's going on. But these guys were also in the low to mid-20s in terms of players. And now, wow, is this the same league? I don't recognize a lot of the players. Interesting. But I believe that was Heroic Destiny, which was number 10 not too long ago, but they're falling off and losing members. And a lot of teams are like that. They're losing members right now. It's just really, really been a tough thing for a lot of leagues. And these are not casual leagues. These are some of the best players in this game. And, a lot of them are having a hard time keeping members together. And here's the reason why. Okay. We're going to go back to Quake 2 and 3 and the railgun. And that depending on the map, if you had a nice open map that was really good for using the railgun, the thing was you had equal access to it as your opponent. It was up to you to keep your opponent away and deprive him from getting that weapon, especially if he was good with it. You obviously want to try to take away the weapons that the other opponent likes using. But You didn't have to pay money to deprive somebody from the railgun. You simply, you know, played well, killed the opponent in the game when you had to, and kept him from getting it. In COD4, all the perks that you got, like deep impact, which allowed you to shoot through walls, or stopping power, which gave every bullet that you had more stopping power and could kill people with less bullets. You simply got that by playing the game and by experience. You didn't get it by, spending money. They didn't require you to spend more money to get those perks. Not the case with this game. And this year, it's been even less of the case. The game now is based on more overall, even though a lot of teams, once again, it's, skill is still very much involved, but the game is about overall and it's about game plan. And overall is more important than ever, as we know, because of the updates this year and the way the counter system works since January, and especially since the gameplay update that was made last month in March. Overall matters more than ever. Overall, with a higher overall team, tends to come a better game plan. So the two kind of go hand in hand. If you got a really good team, you're probably going to have a good game plan too. That is also something that you can buy. It's at the auction house, so not taking away anything from people who have a lot of skill working the auction house. If they want to do that, that's fine. But that's time versus money. It's one or the other or both. So you got to spend a lot of time and make a lot of good decisions to get the millions of coins that it takes to put together a really good team. Now, increasingly, and it's still fairly early, the GTs have not come out yet. But if we look here on the leaderboard, and everybody knows 99 Problems and how good these guys are. Since a lot of the cheating leagues have been gone, these guys went right up to the top. Just great players, great guys. A lot of very mature players, been playing together for a long period of time. Ash is phenomenal. Crane is phenomenal. These guys, admins over at Mudhead, and Ash with his great, thing where you could check out players and what they upgrade to and overalls and things like that. Made a lot of contributions to Madden Mobile. These guys are a great league that take a lot of pride in winning and trying to do it with integrity. And they've done it for years now. Now, if we look at Knowledge's team, Knowledge is always known to have just a badass team. Okay. So if we take a look at his team here, he's got a 109 defense. Will definitely get your attention. Okay, I'm sure he's got a good game plan too. I've never played him, but he's got all three pack-only speed boosters on his team. I talk about speed boosters a lot. I know I do. But it's a really important stat. It's important for offense. It's important for defense. You could have a lower overall defense. I've played a couple lower overall defense with a lot of speed boosters, and it plays totally different. It really changes the game a lot. And, making these pack-only type of players, all three of these guys, and you could say EA did it to try to take excess coins out of the game that weren't supposed to be there, the inflation because of coin selling and buyers. You could say any number of things about it, but what it's done, along with the other changes that EA has made this year, is it is unbalanced gameplay and favored those who spend money or work the auction house, magnificently. It's become pay for play. That's really what it's all about. Speed increases overall also dramatically. Maybe only awareness rivals speed as boosting offensive and defensive players as much. Speed probably is a little bit more. And he's got some boosters in here right now. Look at this. He's got Kyle Long in here and still gets a 102 offense. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. He's got Edelman, so Knowledge is a great player. He knows how to put together a team. He knows how to make coins in this game. I don't know what he's doing, but he knows how to make coins. He's a master at it. It's phenomenal. Now, in previous years of this game, the thing is, it really came down to the player and how somebody played more than anything. The little things made a difference. Not making a mistake here and there made a difference. This year, as part of it too, though, overall now does matter because the January update were counters now with the low, medium, and severe. When you play a 109 defense, and I've played 107s and I've played 108s, where they tend to have good defenses and good game plans, right? And a lot of soft counter game plans. You're going to run into counters about a third of the time, sometimes if not more. A lot of the counters are going to be critical when you're playing someone who has a +5 overall defense over your offense. It makes a huge difference. It's not like in years past. And even last year, I remember playing a 110 defense when we played, I don't even know if they're in the top 100 anymore, 49ers Nation or something like that. I don't know if these guys are up here. I know they were. And there's Release the Bats. Let's see if I can find these guys. I know this guy isn't still on their team. Niners Nation. Yeah, there they are. Number 98 now. 27 members. Doing pretty good. But they had a member. I remember his name is Travis now. And he had a Raiders team in Niners Nation. But he had a 110 overall, and I play that defense, and even with the nerf and everything else, I was probably like a 105 offensive at that time. It was obnoxious. It was more difficult. It was noticeably more difficult. And of course the counters are just whatever you picked, last year, but still I could run an FL screen if it was uncountered because that defense was just all over it. It was just one of those things. It was tough. It was tougher to play that. So even with the nerf and everything, it is more difficult to play a higher overall. I've found on average, it is more difficult to play a higher overall team. Well, this year it's really the case. And since that January update where they made overall a factor in the severity of the counters, along with Ultimate Freeze and these high percentage soft counters coming out, it's really changed the game a lot. And it has made it a lot more pay to play. All I had to do, and here, let's prove a point right now. I'm playing a head-to-head, getting ready to win and finish up, and playing somebody with, with all his boosters in and 104 defense. Pretty comparable to what I could do with my team. And here's somebody who plays somewhat similar to I am. You'll see me run that play and that play and that play. Deep cross, not so much. That's pretty impressive. On a medium counter, that he gets that. And then here I go with my thing, and I get picked by lane. And third drive, so you could see here, 4 counters, right? Awesome. I pretty much can run my game, but just make a bonehead mistake, right? Throw a pick on 2nd and 10. Didn't need to throw it up there. Didn't need to throw it down the field. It wasn't 4th and long or anything like that. And third drive, softies, more softies hitting them. HB option, catch is a critical. Weak eyed triple post, catch is a critical. My 4th drive, He's 17% here against the short pass, which I like to do. I get a long gainer with Olsen who breaks a tackle. But you could see he's got a hard setup in here, and he should have known after the first drive. See, if this had been last year, he would have, okay, I'll take out cross in, I'll take out spread FL drag, I'll take out curls flats, I'll take out strong IFB middle, I'll take out motion wise stick because this guy likes short passing. And he could take out 10 plays, and he didn't have to pay for any game plans to do it. Okay. Didn't have to pay anything. All he had to do was play the game, get up to level 50, unlock all the plays so you could counter all the plays. That's all that was required last year. This year it's game plans. But he wasn't able to do that. Okay. So, and apparently he didn't have the time or the collectibles or the inclination to put in a different game plan against me. So, same one going up against me, not high enough percentages, get a touchdown out of it. Last year, he could have made these adjustments for free. This year, he might not have the cards. He might not have more than one game plan. Who knows what the case is? It is a 103 overall, so he should have more game plan cards. But this is a matter of, okay, can I pick the right combinations of cards? Like spread FL drag is only going to be one counter in a slot where I could put two plays in there. He just didn't change at all. The difference between this, and here we go, 3 softies in a row, 2 criticals and a medium. So it's pretty clear what this game is all about. It's about game plan. It's because I have an ultimate freeze soft counter set up in the AGA power that even boosts percentages a little bit more. Now I've locked him out. I started playing the game, but I thought I wanted to show this in a video just to prove a point. It's pay for play. It's not because I'm so much more skilled than him or anything else. I've got a better game plan that worked out better in this particular game. So we're going to get our gameplay portion now, and we'll see if we made changes on the third drive or if it's much the same. Tight window. Very tight coverage. All right, curls flats. We're going to roll, try to give Edelman time, and he still drops it. There you go. +5 catch in action. Yeah, it really doesn't seem to make that much of a difference. And another drop. He's usually pretty good about those. Surprising. All right, we'll give it to Olsen. He's reliable. Damn. Okay. Strong IFB middle. And everybody cannot catch today. This is awesome. We're going to try running it, shall we? And I should really try juking a little bit more with Dorset. But we could see here, as of so far, I haven't tried this play against him yet. Tried to move up in the pocket, but just didn't get there. 2nd and 18. Go for it a little bit. Whoa. 100%. Okay, so that's what he's countering. And trying to think of combos that go with that. 3rd and 18 now. All right, we're going to go for Jones in deep attack. Or maybe not. 100%. So I ran into his hard counters. Now I got to get a lot of time to throw this football with this long of down. And another 100%. Man, I fell right into his wheelhouse. So there you go. But here's the thing. He made these great adjustments where you had these great plays picked out that I finally fell into. Wow, makes me feel like a dummy. Taking away all the long pass plays apparently is what his game plan was trying to do, but he couldn't change it situationally based on what I did my previous two drives. That was really the point. And, game plans are something that I saw immediately when they came out. I'm like, okay, people are going to have better game plans. You're going to have big differences between what people can do based on game plans and the fact that there's bronze, silver, gold, and elite cards. And then everything else that's happened since with Ultimate Freeze and the Egg of Power and the Doomsday and all these different cards that have either been there or have come out. I remember earlier in the year where the elite defensive units, even the team ones, were just 1, 2, 3, 4 million coins when nobody had coins at the beginning of the game. Okay, because they were so rare. Then they made them more common, and now those same teams, we'll just look them up. Why not? Will be fun to look at. And so let's look at defensive units for elites. Let's see what's out there. And there's Nega Power going for 2 million. What a deal for that thing. But here, look, there's the Silver Crush from Thanksgiving taking out 2 plays, but they're not commonly used enough plays. And the boost is situational and kind of bogus. So, this never really caught on. Short passing plays, which is probably the least popular tree in there. That's why I abuse it so much. It doesn't seem to be countered too much, just like what my opponent was doing. And, this is going for under 200K. A lot of these things now, they're worth nothing. These sets are not worthwhile to do anymore. But these back in the day, I still got this one. Still like this defensive unit. Those are 2 good plays to counter, right? Kind of noob plays, but they're 2 good plays to counter for sure. And then you're countering the run. So, not a bad unit at all. But the thing is, this was all, whereas in previous years of this game, you could unlock it just by playing. Now you got to buy it at the auction house or buy it from EA, spend money either on packs or stamina refills or etc. And more things have been like this. Now game plans are still so important. I could just be lazy and put in a soft counter unit against someone and hope the percentages eat them up. And you know what? A lot of times it does. It really does against somebody, even skilled players. You run into 3, 4 critical counters in a row, you're not going to be able to do much medium and critical counters, depending on what plays you're calling. It's just tough to play. It's tough to compete with that going on. And that is part of the thing. Now, with overall being a big difference, we already see with Knowledge's teams that there's 109 overalls. The GTs haven't even come out yet. GT's another thing. Oh, people can't wait for the GTs to come out. I'm thinking, yay, another rare pack only type of player that only so many people can get. And the thing is, what I'm realizing is that even though with the money that and the time that I've spent trying to put the team together, my 26 plus million coins right now maybe gets 1, 2, maybe 3 of those players, maybe more as they become older and replaced. When the Randall card comes out, maybe the Docket card goes down, or the other Ultimate Legend boss goes down. But ultimately, a lot of these players end up in the same teams, and it gives them a really big advantage. So you got to ask yourself, it always comes down to how well you can play, how you can play call, play situationally, call the right play for the situation, and things like that. But it comes down to, how good a percentage is the counter unit of the opponent that you're facing and how good their defense is. Because if they trigger counters and they're +5 overall to your offense, you're going to get a lot of criticals. And we saw it yesterday. I put again up 24 in a league to league against league ranked like 1,000 or somebody. And the guy who played me, just ran into critical after critical after critical. And I think he might have scored once. Actually, I don't know if he scored at all, to be honest with you, because the criticals were just eating him up. They just were. And that's the thing. And you should reward people for putting together a good team. Don't get me wrong. But it's become more about rewarding that player with the good overall and the good game plan and not about skill, is the point. And then the other side of it is, even if you wanted to put together a good team, here, let's go back to Knowledge now. And I don't mean to single him out. He's awesome. He's got an awesome team, and 99 Problems is, they're phenomenal. But so how are we going to put together this team? What exactly does it take to get all these players? How much does this team cost? These guys, some of them notwithstanding, right? What does this team cost? 2, 3, 400 million coins? I don't know. By today's standards, who knows? But he's got all 3 speed boosters on there. He's got, some of the Crystal Legend players too on this team. Boosters almost at every position. So even if this Bob Sanders card and the stats are fairly comparable to the regular set-based card, but the 2 hit power boosting the whole defense, and he's getting boosted pursuit-wise by Dawkins, and they're all getting boosted by Wilson for awareness, and that's the whole thing. We got Bailey here boosting awareness, NTL with pursuit and zone. All these different things. He's got Ware in there who doesn't have a boost, but by the time all's said and done, he's got 98 speed at defensive end. And now, in league to league, guys are playing to their stats. They are playing a lot more to their stats. Now, when a play's not countered, yeah, you could be successful. It's probably a little bit easier than Hall of Fame in some ways, but when you're playing a higher overall like this, you really have a serious disadvantage, playing this type of team. You just really do. And that's really what I'm talking about. Quake 2, you want a railgun, kill your enemy and pick up the railgun. That's all you got to do. It's equal every time, and then you could take control of the map and you run the items and get the armors or whatever, but your opponent has equal opportunity. It's all based on the way you play. And that's why Quake was such a great game. This game has become now like EA says, give us money and you might get better players. But a lot of the players that Knowledge has on his team weren't available through sets. You couldn't say, okay, I'm just going to grind it out like Bengal Bump and Gak here. And I'm just going to do whatever it takes to get this player, and I'll work hard, and I'll sell off items, and I'll flip items earlier on in the promo and sell players so I could buy them later for cheaper and try to do the set with the profit that I make early on. Or I could spend money on stamina refills like me. You give me a good set with a good set-based player, I'm going to go after it. I'll do whatever I can to do that set. A lot of times I'm the first one done with a big new set in my league. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just that way about it. I'm a little bit insane, you know. I'll lose sleep and go after it. But I haven't had the opportunity because a lot of these players have been pack only, lotto type of picks. And then for people like Knowledge who know how to work the auction house, he ends up with all those players. These players are not, these limited edition pulls aren't very well distributed across teams. They tend to end up on the same teams. It's unfortunate, guys. And that is really my message of this video. And if you don't like what I'm saying, then, that's fine. You can disagree. We could have a discussion in the comments of this video, whatever you think the case may be, but it's gone. At some point, I agree, you should reward people who work hard to put a better team together and get higher overalls, but they're being rewarded too much, and the game plan is part of the problem. Game has become too pay to play. And even for me, and I am a competitor, believe me, and that's one of the things, I love about this game. I love to compete, man. I love to play. I like to see how I could do against somebody else. But this year, it's really become clear that although cheaters in earlier this year and in previous years were the problem where, people aren't even playing the game legitimately, they're using airplane mode or using a program to cheat and change the difficulty level, the defense, whatever the case may be, force closing, all the different ways people had to cheat. So that was a problem, but now it's a new problem. And it's even driving top players, not just little old mobile madness at 250. And we've all got, I think, I could speak for a lot of people, we've all gotten pretty burnt out of it, of not having opportunities to even get better players. Oh, by the way, EA keeps making my point. And they've been trying to get more money. See, what they've done is they've made overall more important at a time where they're giving top teams less opportunity to improve their teams. That's really what it's come down to, is really the message. So you need to have a better team. You need to have a better team. Now you want to try to get it up one overall so you get less critical counters because guys are playing to their stats now. So you could get your defense up there so you can get more critical counters, etc. But this week, EA, in their infinite wisdom, gave us a new card. They gave us a Matt Forte card who doesn't even have the same speed as his M Games card that came out in September? October? When was that M Games rushing thing? September or October, one of the two. That card had more speed than this one. So from a gameplay point of view, speed is pretty important at the halfback. What's the boost through the throwback? +2 carry. Is there anything more useless than this boost in this player? Why are they doing this? I can tell you why they're doing this. It's not random. They're starving us. And Easter was a big exception to the rule. They're starving people from ways to get really good players, making more and more desperate so that EA thinks that they'll spend more money trying to get the better players when they come out with these pack-only pulls, Ultimate Legend bosses and tribute cards and things of that nature. But really, it's backfired because it's really backfired with me. The reason why that third Moss, that when that Moss card came out, when it really made me snap and really made me say, you know what, enough of this. And I suddenly said that there's a good chance I won't play next year, which is still the case, depending on how things go for the rest of the year, because their business model seems pretty firmly set. Okay, for EA for doing this type of thing, for making it just really super hard to get good cards in this game. And there's really a difference between my team, which is very good, and I worked so hard to put together, and then teams that are, 109 overalls, and things like that. And I just sit there and think, okay, so I've spent all this money and I've spent all this time for what? I'm going to lose it at the end of the year anyways. My alternative, I guess, would be becoming an auction house guru, which I really don't want to spend the time to do. It's very monotonous, I find, and it's just for a guy trying to run a league, it's hard. And it's just like, it takes the competitive and my love for competition and playing this game and trying to get better at it. And it's really given me perspective because, I've poured all this time and money into this game. And you got to sit back and say, even when I get great polls like that crystal egg, that didn't make everything better. The situation still remains the same. We needed a speed booster that everybody could get like yesterday. We've needed other good set-based players to try to compete with people who are racking up all the Ultimate Legend bosses yesterday. If you want to compete at a high level, it takes more effort and money than what I've been able to do. That's the bottom line. And to me, with the effort and the time that I've put in, I could have been smarter about certain things. I know that. But it's been enough to at least be on a level and to try to compete. And it's nowhere near. There's a big difference is really the thing. And that's what you see now in league-to-league matches. You see a very unusual close game here. Looks like we're going to lose. All right, Randy, put up 22. Looks like we're going to fall a little short, but our guys did a great job. We've made some good adjustments. It is about the players. Boy, my 6 looks sad up there, doesn't it? Really does. What a leader, huh? But I only gave up 3, so I guess at least something worked. But, a lot of the league-to-leagues nowadays are blowouts. You got some good leagues playing each other and you got close games, but you've got us playing number 300 and stomping them at times. We play, number 9 and we get stomped into the ground. Like it's not even close. And with that league, all natural. These guys don't have like the really high overall teams, in fairness. A lot of these times you see 102s, 103s. They look pretty ordinary now, these teams. They really do. These guys just know how to play. And don't get me wrong, people still know how to play. It's more important than the team, but the team is become too important and too much of a part of it. And the ways to give people better players, even for the fun of it, by trying to improve your team, EA has really, with things like this Forte throwback, it just shows that EA is really just trying to make it hard to improve your team. They're really trying to maximize what they get out of a serious player. And honestly, I'm not going for it anymore. You give me a set, you give me a guaranteed reward if I work hard, and I'll do it. I'll spend stamina refills, and I'll do that. And I think the reason their revenue has gone down, where people, when they came out with a Mike Vick card, which was the first of the speed boosters, when they came out with that card, they had people chasing, trying to get that card. Oh, well, I didn't get it because almost nobody did get it. It's a very limited pull. I don't know what the number is. For people who are trying to go for Mike Vick who got him, Is it 1 in 100? 1 in 1,000? I don't think it's much more than 1 in 100 people who spent millions of coins or dollars of whatever amount trying to get that Mike Vick card. I doubt that many more than 1 in 100 got that card. It's really sad when you think about it. Then people go, oh, well, okay, I didn't get Mike Vick. Then the CJ2 2K card comes out. And the same thing happens all over again. And people who've worked so hard to try to build up their coins to get other players for their team are broke again, trying to get this thing. And then people just get frustrated. And then by the time the third card comes out, at that point, I was just angry because what EA did with the third straight speed booster that was pack only is it proved to me once and for all it wasn't about taking the coin sellers, the inflation out of the game by trying to get coins out of the game, wasting it on packs. In doing so, if that's what they were trying to do, they were A, going after people's money, and B, what they were doing was unbalancing gameplay, knowing that certain players tend to end up with all the best cards. Totally unbalancing gameplay. And the March update, where the March update could have been great if it wasn't based on overall, if it was, if it was totally random, critical, medium, or low severity for the counters, then it would have been a little bit more fair. Better overall teams still play better, no doubt about that, especially with the right types of players on there. But it would have been a little bit more fair. But that move in conjunction with the pack-only players and without the means to get a lot of good set players like an NTL with no game changer, veterans, updates, the other programs they've come out with have been lame. It's really made it difficult to put together a better team. And that's why I'm thinking about leaving this game, depending on what goes on, because I don't want to deal with it for another year. It becomes work. It's not fun anymore at a certain point. You want to compete so bad, but you just realize, it's not worth all that. And, that's really it. So wherever I can in the CA survey where I write a book or doing my videos or whatever, I will say my point of view. I'm realizing that not all people are going to agree with it because I have really loved this game and I would love to see EA make some changes just to make it, I understand they want to try to make money, but be reasonable about it. And if you're, don't break the game. They've essentially broken the game to a certain extent for a lot of people. And that's why a lot of very good players are leaving, not just because it's this time of year, because the game has crossed from challenge to frustration. And that's really what it's all about. So that's it, guys. That is my video. And thanks for watching.